Hey, there was a lot of interest in the video that I made that was called The Dark Night of the Soul. It also included the void. Well, it turns out that these were numbers three and four, nope, three and four of the six stages of spiritual awakening. So, in the meantime, since I've released that, I've started looking further into the six stages of spiritual awakening, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to share all that with you because I I feel like it's going to help us as individuals. Hi all, it's Lori from Numerology with Lori. And please like and subscribe if you can. Also, click the bell icon and change the drop down to all instead of personalize, because this way it allows you to decide which videos you want to see. They can be my videos, they can be other people's, but you'll get everything, So yeah, that's a big help. So thank you very much. So, yeah, the six stages of spiritual awakening. I was really blown away by some of this. The first one is the wake up call. That makes kind of perfect sense, doesn't it? Um, it kind of involves some sort of surrender, a crisis, maybe even grief. We're not really sure, but this can lead you to waking up and saying, oh my gosh, I am no longer the person that I was before. I am no longer a surface level person. I have to look at things from in a deeper way. Does that make sense? And that just happens gradually over time, but it happens and it can happen. In this case, the wake up call can, I guess, happen quickly, So we say, I just said it happens gradually, but I think more the gradual idea of having a wake up call and then boom, you automatically have one, whether it's with grief or, somehow or another some sort of crisis that happens in your life, it makes you start questioning your purpose. It makes you start questioning your values, your reality. That's intensely interesting. Um, you become transformative. You you l- you lose the ego. Now, this happens gradually. Again, this goes back to that word that we just used, gradually. So, yes, the wake up call happens suddenly, but the changes happen gradually over time. So, the ego dissolution, shift to a new worldview. Wow, that's deep. So it embodies ongoing clarity in your daily life, a radical acceptance of what's different, what has changed, and what continues to change. There are so many of us, and we've talked about this before, who prefer to keep things status quo, who don't like change. And here's the truth of it: change is a constant, it happens all the time, like it or not. So, yeah, that's one thing. So, the second stage is entitled The Bliss of Love and Life. A very interesting title. So, it's about the opening of your heart, it's about realizing authentic compassion for your fellow man and woman. Yeah. Um, It's shedding your defensive walls, which I find to be very heartening. Again, we talked about this radical compassion, authentic compassion. So that's I feel like we do that almost innately and we don't even realize we're doing it. Okay, so the bliss of connection with another person. So yesterday, I get chills just thinking about this because I wanted to insert this and I'm like, I don't want to talk about this, but here I am talking about it. It's just a little thing. I went to the pool for the first time in 3 years. Again, my whole dark night of the soul void situation. And I can tell I'm coming out of that because I went to the pool for the first time in 3 years. And I met somebody. I met a friend, a girlfriend. Her name was, it doesn't matter what her name is. I'm going to keep anonymity here. But um, we got to talking and it came around to numerology. So that's what it kind of interested me and her. But then we got on a whole spirituality rant, which was just, I say rant, I don't mean that. I mean, we got on talking about a spiritual awakening and a dark night of the soul moment and a void moment. And it was just pretty amazing. I got to tell you, when you talk to people about some of the things that are going on in your life, don't be afraid of it. Go ahead and talk about it, because what's happening is that you're getting a real reaction from somebody, and you never know when something that that person says can help you through um, your spiritual awakening. Yeah. So the bliss of connection is amazing. There's a deep resonance to life that, yes, that's exactly where I was with this. There was a deep resonance between us. And I had been thinking that, okay, I'm only going to spend half an hour or so. I wound up spending a couple hours there because she was a fascinating person. Yeah. Not to say that I shouldn't have, you know, but I didn't expect to meet somebody. I didn't expect to meet a friend and someone that's also like-minded. That was interesting. So I have heard astrologists say this is a period of time when you should expect the unexpected. Yep, yep. So number two was bliss of love and life. That's exactly what I met here. I didn't really understand what this section meant. Bliss of love and life. So the bliss of connection, the soul's purpose rather than society, until I met this person. And then all of a sudden it became, yeah, she's part of the bliss I can expect when I experience love and life. Wow. So expect the unexpected in this section, in any section of life, right? So then the third, number three, is what we talked about already in the dark night of the soul. So after you go through these wonderful things, like then if you're not quite getting it, or you're in my case, yes, I went through these things and then I fell into um, ways that were not conducive to spiritual awakening. So hence, I wound up experiencing a dark night of the soul. It so ego, my ego met shadow. So even though I went through a transformation and worked on this ego dissolution from the wake-up call, I still needed to experience the dark night of the soul in order to really dissolve my ego, really dissolve, really work with the shadows to figure out what was going on with my ego. Mm. It's been a tough time. There was definitely a surrender. There's been and is this connection with nature. I'm so blessed that right now is a good time of the year, so I can get outside and I can put my hand on a tree and I can watch the squirrels and I can watch the bunnies and whatever else you watch, whether it's you live near a swamp and you can watch the frogs. That just came to my mind. I mean, I think it's lovely. It's all very lovely. So the dark night of the soul makes you strip away your old beliefs And having a numerology consultation at this time, or some form of consultation, some sort of divination, whether it's astrology or tarot. In my case, it could be a numerology, a divination consultation, but it helps you to get in touch with where your life path is going and what part of life you're in at that stage and time to where you might be experiencing the dark night of the soul. That's important. That can be very important. So it would also help you to shed those defensive walls. We already talked about that. Um, Also, make sure when you're experiencing your dark night of the soul, and I think we talked about this in this video, um, feel free to journal, to meditate as often as possible. Understand that you're going through this period to stop and be still for a second, to experience the feminine side of your soul. You know, we're so used to the masculine side, which is a constant go, go, go. The feminine side is calmer. It's more it's more related to um new beliefs, um just trying to what would we call the feminine side? The feminine side is just not active. It's a little bit more, I wouldn't say it's inactive, but it does something different than the action that's constantly in place with the male energy. So, yeah. Um, so yes, we talked about that. You might experience your rock bottom here. Emotional fatigue. You might feel a sort of numbness that happens here. And it's all meant to be an emotional reset for you. I experienced this, so I understand. And I've lived to come out the other side. You can too. You can too. And maybe you have already. So I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments. Please feel free. So number 4 is the void. We talked about this as well. This is again transforming. It it really gives you that emotional reset. It pauses your external life. Ooh, so it makes you more inclined to live a little bit internally. That might be part of your journaling process. I've gotten to the point where I journal every night now before bed, and sometimes you don't even realize what you're going to say. That's why I would say to you, don't resist it if you can. If you can. Some of us just journal, but if we can not resist it, I feel like there are things that can be seen in journaling and understanding the void that you're in right now. And we talked about this in the other video. It seems like there's no windows that are open, no doors that are ready to open. It just feels like you're almost, I want to use the word stuck, but stuck isn't right. It feels like you're just stopped. You're stopped. And that's okay because you're meant to experience whatever you've been not experiencing or ignoring. You're meant to not ignore anymore. So this helps you to clear out old emotional baggage. It helps you to open yourself up and stop limiting your beliefs. That's interesting, isn't it? Okay. So number 5. This is something we haven't talked about before. Neither were 1 and 2. Of course, we did talk about 3 and 4, the dark night of the soul and the void. And I will put that video in the end screen. But number 5 is the groundedness. So this is about rebuilding your life, rebuilding an authentic life. Inner peace. Oh, that's wonderful. Continuing your journaling, continuing your meditating, maybe experiencing some sort of divination. Maybe you're going to learn to use oracle cards or a tarot deck just so that you can read for yourself. Or again, you can always call me for a consultation, call somebody else, or ask somebody to do an astrology reading for you. It's very important to kind of get an idea of where you are in life. And the groundedness helps you to build a foundation of trust in yourself. Again, that's another good reason to get an oracle deck and to play around with it daily on a regular basis. So, yeah. Number 6 is purpose and life mission. I love this last stage of spiritual awakening. And then I want to do something for you, but let's just talk about this last one. So this allows you to shift your focus outward into the world again because you've reached the point where you have gone inward and you've looked at all the different shadows and all the different, like, yes, is there more work to be done? Of course, of course. But there was something you were not getting. And hence we experience this dark night of the soul and the void. We do. That just happens to us. So this helps you for seeking a higher purpose. You understand your higher purpose more. This is what the purpose and life mission is about. Again, some form of divination tool will help you to figure out your purpose and your life mission. It can be me, it can be anybody else, whatever you trust. Again, even if you just want to journal and get an oracle deck, whatever works for you, whatever works for you. No more personal gain. That's interesting. Yeah. Your connection with others, your empathy for others, your meaningful contribution to the collective becomes ultra important at this point. Ultra important, especially once you've reached this stage of the 6 stages of a spiritual awakening. Now, I want to share with you, I did a small board on spiritual awakening. And I read this earlier. I wrote this down earlier. So spiritual is actually a master number. It's a master number 44. The 44 is about the mastering of spiritual and material power. Interesting, isn't it? Mastery of material and spiritual power. I wrote it down the other way, which is fine. It's fine. So you develop self-control during this period, during a period where your spirituality comes it first for you. You develop a self-control and perseverance, and you organize your time and talents. Very fascinating. Very fascinating. Maybe the best use of spiritual and material talents spiritual talents for material abundance that comes with this number. So interesting. Again, this could be the best use of your spiritual talents and for material abundance during this time when you're using the 44/8 as a spiritual awakening. Now, awakening adds to a 40. 4 plus 0 equals 4. So this creates order, the number 4. This is just another way of writing 4. Sometimes it's a 31, sometimes it's a 22. But in this case, for awakening, all of the numbers added to 40. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, that's fine. Whoops, am I getting it? I hope that's giving you a screenshot. Yeah. So this creates order. It's a number about planning. Um, and this invites you to use a steady hand when you're creating this. The thing about it that I truly, truly am interested in, and I want to look, we have a video about this, but that zero in there is amplifying the four. So spiritual awakening, so the awakening part of spiritual is adds to 40. So in other words, there is an amplification for working hard, for planning, for creating material abundance. Mm. There is a little bit of a push. The zero again amplifies it, which I think is a wonderful thing. Remember, the zero acts as almost like an impregnator, which is pretty fascinating. Can you imagine what that means for the number four that is a builder number and it gets impregnated? Oh my gosh, that just means that whatever you're building is that much more intense and that much more beautiful. Yeah. So they both add to, so I did a total on this just so you would know. The four plus the eight equals a 12. That, and you know as well as I do that in numerology, we have to add the number has to be a single digit. Okay. So then we have 12. We know that's not a single digit. So then we add 2 plus 1 and we get the 3. So 3 is the number for spiritual awakening total. Now, it doesn't mean that that negates spiritual, which is 44.8, and awakening, which is 404, but we added the 8 and the 4 together, and the total for spiritual awakening is the 3. So when I look at that number, I see I see a 3 that is sparkly. It just that's what I see. I don't know whether that is a message from spirit. I'm not sure. I think it is because it's very obvious to me that if I'm seeing something different, that's clearly what it is. So I see a sparkly 3 that is a joy of living. That's about communication. And again, this takes me back to what the 44.8 said in spiritual, in the word spiritual. Let's take a look at that again. You see how spiritual equals 44. It's a master number. It's a master number. Always includes a spirituality. And we already know that the word itself is spiritual. So the spirituality is to develop self-control and perseverance. And in the case of the 3, it allows you to communicate. So not only are you developing a self-control and a perseverance, but you're learning how to communicate well. Wow. You're learning to communicate what a person needs you to communicate if you talk to them in any way, shape, or form about their life purpose and mission. Uh, it's pretty amazing. I mean, everything is connected. Whew, yeah. So I really hope you got something out of the 6 stages of spiritual awakening. I absolutely adore the spiritual awakening board. If you want to take a screenshot of this, feel free. I'm blown away by all this. I need to do more research, but I'm hoping that you're enjoying the research that we're doing right now. And I hope that you come back for more. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you.